There we go.
Chris, these photos you sent are great.
Aren't they awesome?
When are they? How old are you in some of these photos? This is from last year, or?
Okay. Hey, Timmy, let's go ahead. Should I go ahead and get started?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's do that. You might just in case send Ashley and Audrey.
Yeah, we'll check in with them.
And George, I don't know what George is either, but they all sent stuff.
Yeah.
They're all planning on be here.
We'll make sure they're here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Hey, everybody. I'm here right now. Bill Koeb and Chris Payne are here with me, and Timmy is here. Got a couple of quick things to talk about. We got a little bit different structure tonight. Unfortunately, Christopher, our model, has flown the coop, and he's off. He's out.
We tried. We tried so hard to keep him. We went through we went through the 12 stages of grief. First, we were in denial, and then we tried to scare him into staying, and then pleaded. We tried to bargain with him, but couldn't keep him. But the good news, I will add, the good news is for all of you, we've upgraded our setting and our kit, and in 2 weeks Christopher will be back, and we're taking the photo studio on the road. We're doing a outdoor photo shoot that will be COVID-19 safe, and so he will return. He's planning his comeback career.
And maybe he'll just be playing cameo parts along the
maybe
way.
that it depends. Yeah, we'll see.
Okay. Well, hey, since Timmy's talking, I'm going to go ahead and mention this. Yeah, absolutely. Just little cameo shots. Hey, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of mention this real quickly. Still USA Shields comes from the Trayvon Company. The Trayvon Company has been very integral to us with the Illustration Academy and Visual Arts Passage. Thank you always. I don't think they've been developing shields, PPE, building PPE, and doing their part to help themselves, and then help the coronavirus, just help medical, anybody that needs PPE. Been doing great things.
Yeah, everyone,
briefly,
thank you for promoting that. Really appreciate it.
Briefly, we have this weekend, we have a foundations class that's kicking off. And we also have a color class with Brent Watkinson that's kicking off. Great class, color theory class. Our normal, our 10-week classes that we're running right now start again July 18th. We have an illustration program and a concept art program. I'm very proud of what we've developed. These classes have been laid out to help you with the skill sets that you need to develop in the industry, to get your career started. These are the two classes that start. Mine starts this weekend on Sunday. If you have any interest, there's still a few spots, and there's still a couple spots open in Brent Watkinson's color theory class, which runs on Tuesday night. I cannot recommend it enough. Here we are with our illustration isolation. The list keeps getting longer of what we've done. Ray Bonilla was our guest this week and he crushed it. He did an absolutely beautiful, beautiful job with his demo. Here's basically we've been having artists help us deliver these lectures and demos, and they've been nice enough to donate the work and donate it to the Global Giving, the Coronavirus Relief Fund. These are the things that have been done so far. One from me, one from George Pratt, another from George Pratt, John Foster, Sterling Hunley, Chris Payne, another Chris Payne, Audrey Benjaminson, and Bill Koeb, and then followed by what was done this week with Ray Bonilla. Just fantastic. I'm so proud of all this work. And so it's been such a high level. You can see all the work on the website. You can see all the demonstrations, watch them on demand. There's a great amount of just tremendous information, a lot of fantastic educational lectures about putting a picture together in lots of different directions. Next week, we'll be featuring Audrey Benjaminson. Excuse me, I said that wrong. We'll be speaking Ashley Lovett next Tuesday.
And John, I'll let you know, she's on the panel now.
Oh, good.
So
hey, Ashley. Hey, we're here. Good. I'm very happy. Thank you for sending me, everybody. Thank you for sending me reference. Just a quick rundown. Here we are in our drawing, and here's some of the things that were done. I cannot not show these. I'm so amazed that these are 20-minute poses, and some of the featured artists that have been in here. And I'm going to just click through them real quick because there'll be a bunch more made tonight. And then I'll talk about our format for the night and explain what we're doing. I just love looking at these things. And the work that people are posting, the people that have joined us is phenomenal. It's amazing the level of work that everybody's posting on Instagram and Facebook. Please continue to do so. So references. And each of the artists that we're featuring tonight, Chris Payne, by the way, you can go to the same place. There's artspassage.com, illustration/isolation, to get the photo reference. And you can also post at our Instagram and our Facebook page, #illustration_isolation. And then this was left in from last week, and I'm really hoping, here we go. Here's tonight, here's Chris Payne. These are photo references that he shot, or somebody shot of him, and for a couple of the different illustrations. Here's the Bill Clinton, which I don't think he had to change anything. I said this to him in a text today. It's like, you didn't have to change. He looks a lot like Bill Clinton. But he said he had to change the nose. And then the Time cover with David Letterman. And that's the reference he shot to complete these pieces. And just absolutely fantastic. Chris, what was this one for?
I saw that photo.
Is this for the same Letterman?
No, that was for a
Chris,
a
is your
Lennox
mic on?
thing. I was posing for Dave Lennox. No, yeah, it should be. I don't see a line through it.
Cool. You look
Can you
like
hear me?
You
Can you hear
look
me?
like you're. Yeah, I can hear you. It's. Oh yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Looks like you're 15 years old. Here.
Okay, yeah, that's
Sounds
me
great,
posing
Chris.
for Dave Lennox.
This is a great one.
You know,
Yeah,
believe it or not,
these are awesome.
that was probably at least 30 years old, almost 30 years old. That was for a job for Rolling Stone, the dancing
Wow.
one. Back when Rolling Stone called me. These were for shots for baseball books. One of them, I didn't use the one on the left, but the one on the right, I'm not sure if that was used, but yeah, those were, well, yeah, the one on the left was for Shoeless Joe Jackson book. That's that I used that one. I used a similar one, but not quite that one on the right for a book on Bobby Thompson's called Shot Heard Around the World.
Oh, awesome. These are
But,
great.
you know, those are just
And then
takeouts. I can't
Ashley
keep a lot
Lovett
of my
from The Little
takeouts.
Mermaid. Okay, so I'm going to kind of go through everybody's. This is Ashley's from The Little Mermaid. I don't know. I think she said she was just going to feature working on the male figure, but that's her choice. This is from Audrey Benjaminson. These are fashion photography from the turn of the century of the 20th in 1900.
Looks like they're
and Audrey, I didn't have
Audrey. Is that Theta Bera?
These are great. And Audrey, I didn't get the third. I don't know. Audrey, can you hear Chris?
Sorry, the audio is cutting out a little bit.
That's not a hurry.
I can't.
Ask your question there. Yeah. That's,
okay.
Yeah,
and I'll bet $1 million those were done in a
Chris, ask that again.
light studio.
Well, the one that's profiled that almost looks like Mata Hari.
It is.
And then, oh, okay. And then George Pratt has a group of things that he used for Enemy Ace. I think these are great.
Oh, those are cool.
I'm gonna
just curious. Yeah, there does seem to be a bit of a Yeah, there's a bit of a lag with the audio. I'm not sure what it is, John. Maybe maybe give that a try. It's not terrible. It's just it's functional.
Okay, well I'll do it when we're drawing.
It's livable.
Because we're about ready.
Yeah,
we're about ready to draw.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah. Don't worry about it yet.
Quickly. Okay. Can you still hear me?
While you're doing that, do you want me to kind of explain how everything works, John?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, that might be the best way to do it.
Yeah, let me finish flipping through George's.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Photos here. These were I think George sent 6 of them tonight. And so, Timmy, why don't you go ahead and explain how we're going to do this?
Yeah, so if this is your, if you've joined us before, then you know how it works. We're not changing anything too much tonight, other than that we will not be at the photo studio. We've lost our model he's on hiatus. But if this is your first time joining, this is kind of the way it works. If you go to visualartspassage.com, you'll see that there's a banner at the top of the page. If you're going from your mobile or like a tablet or something like that, if you don't see that banner, it's okay. Just go to /photos. Thank you, Aaron, for sharing that. But I'm going to share it with everybody because it looks like it just went to the panelists. So everybody, I just shared a link that sends you right to the photos, and that's the reference we'll be working from. You'll notice that there's a couple photos up. If you're in the audience, pick the one you like the most. We're going to feature a few of our panelists tonight. Some of them have brought some drawings like John was just sharing. And then most importantly, this is really what makes tonight just really cool is please draw with us and share your work. And the way that you share your work, if you go to that photo reference page, you'll see that you have 2 options. For those of you who are still on Facebook or using Facebook, join our Facebook group and you can post it there, and we'll be going through it later tonight. And if you've moved on from Facebook or you don't have an account there, you can post it to Instagram, and just be sure to do both of these things. Don't just do one. Tag @VisualArtsPassage and #IllustrationIsolation. This is like one of the coolest things about tonight is the community that comes from it. We love seeing the work everyone posts. So please share. And, this is all skill levels, so don't be intimidated. It's a lot of fun. So thank you for joining. I think I explained all the technical stuff that's the less fun stuff. Other than that, get ready to draw.
Okay, so Chris is up first. Can we need to spotlight Chris's camera?
Okay, let me get set.
There we go.
Yeah, all right. We are headed to we're headed to Chris Payne's studio. So that is where you are. Sasha, we like to feature one artist. And then what we'll do is we'll cycle through everybody's work after the first session goes. As far as picking your artwork, which now I understand what you were asking. Yeah, Brent, thank you. Pick the image you want to draw. We'll ask Chris once he decides. Which image are you going with, Chris? Mr. Payne?
Camera.
There you go. You can see it if you look at his screen. Does everybody see or does everybody see Christopher Payne's studio? The man with the red sleeve?
Looks good to me.
All right. Awesome. John is he on the clock?
Yeah. Can you?
One thing before we start the clock, I think one of the things we do want to talk about. I think drawing this way tonight is a good thing. I mean, I love being able to use photograph, have the reference, do all of that. But I think getting people to understand, and I don't know how many people are younger here and how much experience there is, but this is the way illustrators work. You know, we go out and we get the imagery that we need, whether it's through research or creating it ourselves. And I found over the years, as much as I can, to create it myself, because it saves time. I'm in control when I shoot my reference. And quite oftentimes, because you have self-timers and things like that, well, I'm my own model, and I do it a lot. I pose for myself as a kid, as a woman, as a man, old, whatever. And so it's just what you do. And drawing from life is important, but learning to be able to draw from your reference is also important. And being able to get good references is very important. I imagine, John, you have a class on shooting reference, don't you?
We cover it in our process skill and craft class.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get started based on this picture here. So as most of you guys know, I'm a baseball geek, and so that's what I'm doing. So I'm just going to start blocking in shapes based on this reference. And I have a tendency, I've mentioned it before, I like doing big hands with baseball players. I think it's fun. It makes it fun for me. I've met a few ball players over the years, and a lot of them do have really big hands. They just do.
Gigantic hands.
Pardon?
Gigantic. It's crazy.
Oh, like I said, I met Bert Campaneris, who was a very small player. He was a shortstop for the Oakland A's. And I couldn't believe when I shook his hand and his hand swallowed mine. Just swallowed it. And I don't have small hands. But I'm just quickly trying to get these shapes in. And, he's leaning forward. And so in order to get a little bit more movement, I'm going to lean him a little bit more forward. I don't know how much of this belly I want to have sticking out, because that's my belly. I assume ball players are in better shape than I am. So I'm going to take this, pull this up. I know there's a good picture that I've seen of Harry Hooper, who was a ball player during the dead ball era of baseball that's similar to this, that I've always liked. I think I was probably visualizing that image when I shot this. And I think this was me just using as the timer on my phone, or not my phone, but my camera. Nowadays, of course, with cell phones, it's even easier. You don't have to worry about printing film. You shoot your reference. If you like it, you keep it. If you don't like it, just delete it and go on to the next one.
One of the things I'm going to tell the audience is throughout tonight, if you're not drawing, I hope you're asking questions. So, and on that matter, you can type them in the chat, or you can type them in Q&A. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat. But also remember, when you're using the chat, because this really is about community please be sure to message all panelists and attendees. I know it automatically only sends it to all panelists, and it's more fun, I think, when everybody gets to see what everyone else is up to and what questions they all have. So,
well, one of the things with this thing here, if I can say one, when you look at some of these pictures, it's hard for me to imagine that I actually used a lot of this stuff back in the day, because as I've gotten older, your eyes. I find the one thing I do like about the cell phone is sometimes I'll take a picture of a picture with my cell phone, because then I can blow it up and I can see it better. I mean, back in the day, I was always using that to really get down in there to see the details. And as you get older, I don't know, man. For most of us, it's tougher as you get older on your eyes. I'm constantly having to go to the doctor for prescription checks and things of that nature. So, okay, so I've got some of these shapes here beginning to get in. I can, even though they're there, I can, if I want to make some adjustments, I still can do that in the process here. But most of the angles that I wanted to play off of, getting that perpendicular, going with that, playing off those things, I'm pretty well set. So now I can really just start going in and hitting some bullets here with some darks, start trying to kick in some dark areas. And yeah, some of these things, I've gone to antique stores and places like that, or thrift shops, and have purchased some of these things. Some of these hats, I've got them through these baseball hat shops. This one I got at Cooperstown. And it's like an old Detroit Tigers 8-panel hat back in the days when Ty Cobb and Sam Crawford played there. Try to get a little grimace on his face there. See, for that hand, I don't know about you guys, see, that hand is getting kind of small for these old eyes, so probably would be breaking out that slump of the magnifying glass, but for this, I'm just going to have to wing it. Hope I get close.
And to anyone that's joining late, you're watching CF Payne work from reference photos. And that's what we'll be doing tonight. We've got a pretty awesome lineup of artists on the panel. And Chris, I've got your first question, and it's a big one.
Okay.
Who's your favorite team?
Well, Cincinnati Reds. But it's just, funny thing is with baseball these days, I mean, I'm much more of I love the history of the game. So I'm really more into so many of the old history of baseball, whether it's the dead ball era, the glory days, the Negro Leagues, different, the history of the game is just so rich. And it's hard right now, I think, the way baseball's going with team players jumping around. I mean, right now, the things that they're talking about, how they're going to try to restart the game, I heard some of that. I just started getting angry, so I don't pay attention to it. I'll wait. I'll go enjoy a game for the game, But if you ask me about some of that other stuff, So I'm much more into guys like Shoeless Joe Jackson, Honus Wagner, Satchel Paige, the great ball players of the past.
We're gonna like accidentally get a big MLB following. That's what will happen. This will become a sports podcast.
That's fine.
Chris, what do you think? Chris, what do you think? What do you think you know more about, baseball or illustration?
Well, I'm getting to know more about illustration because I keep on learning it. You hang around guys like George and folks like that, and other illustrators, these younger folks. Because, the thing is, it's really hard for me to keep up with some of the young folks that are doing it. I mean, I'm getting better at it because I don't buy the CAs that much anymore. I don't get some of those things but I love doing the research that I'm doing for because of what I'm doing with our MFA program at Hartford. I'm teaching the illustration and context class, which is a nice way of saying history of, but I really don't try to teach it in a sequential way. We have some sequential classes, but we really try to do it in the context and the times it was created and the genres, because in illustration, there's just so many different areas that illustrators choose to work. I mean, you have your traditional markets that you think of with guys like Rockwell and the golden age of illustration, but, science fiction, fantasy, I mean, there's such a history to it. Wildlife illustration, sports illustration, comic books, animation. For years, I didn't know a lot of details about animation, but I'm getting to understand more of it. And same things with these other markets. And, you start finding new things all the time. And I get excited about that.
Chris, you're still got half your time left. Still got 10 minutes.
Okay.
You're doing great.
I also like making the legs because I like the shoes, play off the shoes. Those shoes that they wore back in the old days. Can you imagine how uncomfortable they were? I mean, I can remember getting a new pair of shoes when I was a kid. The old leather shoes, how uncomfortable they were. That's why Shoeless Joe got his nickname Shoeless Joe, because he had shoes that were so uncomfortable. He finished a game without playing. He took them off and finished the game in his socks. Get the cleats on there. There we go.
Somebody asked a question. What do you think about the designated hitter?
Hate it.
I knew the answer to that.
John, I didn't ask that question because I was afraid of what Chris would say.
Well, it's funny. They played the.
I was like, I don't know if I'll be able to stop him.
It was funny. They played the 1976 World Series with the Yankees and the Reds. That was one of the first World Series where they had the DH, and the Reds swept the Yankees. And they had asked Sparky Anderson, because it's the first time the National League got to use a DH in a World Series. Sparky said he hated it. And since playing in the World Series with it, he hated it even more. No, it takes so much strategy out of the game. I don't like the fact that, like in the National League, pitchers can almost hit another ball player with impunity. If you're pitching and you hit somebody, guess what? You got to face that pitcher, and he may decide to pay you back with a little chin music. Okay,
Chris,
so you
a
see,
couple questions for you. I'll let you go in a second. I just have a question. Who shot the photo?
I think I just used a timer.
Okay, I was curious. That was like old school Maxfield Parrish days.
But there were times where I call my wife or somebody, or I'd even go get a neighbor. Or I remember Trevor used to shoot a lot. I didn't get it. Evan shot some, but Trevor shot a lot. And I'll tell you, Trevor shot some great reference when he was really young. He had a very natural, good eye. Whereas Evan, he was an incredible model. That was the interesting thing. Trevor, I thought, was not as good a model because he didn't like doing it. He didn't like posing.
Well, it's good. It's great practice for somebody to go through that. I mean, to actually model and know what you can get from, you know, when you have a model in front of you.
Well, I'll tell you, the one thing you learned, and I think I read it even in Rockwell's book, it's like if you're first of all, you know, if you are going to photograph kids, and, you know, I always said, you know, you only photograph kids with the parent with you. You never photograph a child without the parent being there, ever. And so that's one. But the other thing too is when you're photographing a child, man, if you don't get it in like 2 minutes, I mean, you're not going to get it. You know, particularly if it's a youngster, a real young, because, you know, their attention span can't really take all that and keep doing it because you're trying to give them instructions on what to do. So quite oftentimes, what I would end up doing is I would end up photographing just the child's face to get expression. And then I would photograph myself for the body and then just kind of make my changes to that. So I did a time cover with a kid skipping a stone, and that's me, that's my body, and it's a neighbor's son from behind for the kid. And so that's oftentimes what you do.
So I interrupted you a second ago. Where were you headed?
Well, it just, right now, all I'm doing is, now that I've got, and I think this is a fairly traditional thing, even I do this in figure drawing class. And John, I think this is what you guys do at the academy. You know, you start with this mid-value, you kick in some of the shadows, and now you can start pulling out the lights. And you can use, starting off with that, I can also come in with a color that's not quite as bright, like this, and start getting some of that in there.
So people that haven't watched Chris do this before, he's just working on a tablet. That's like a light gray paper.
Yeah, it's just these sketchbooks by Strathmore, the tone gray.
And you're just using Prismacolor.
Right. I start off usually with it's what's called a chestnut Prismacolor, and then I go back in with some, I don't know what this is. This is some kind of rose color. It's kind of a neutral. And then I can come in with a brighter color on top of that, right up in here to get a little bit brighter areas, things that I want, little highlights here and there.
John, do you mind if I ask you a question? If for people that might just be like joining this community, how would you describe Chris Payne as an illustrator? What is your intro?
Great.
Right. I know there's a lot more than that,
right.
though.
No, but he interesting. Chris is just, I've heard Chris himself as kind of an amalgamation of Rembrandt and Mort Drucker. And
Rockwell.
Oh, excuse me. Well, no, but well, okay. Yeah, I've heard you say Rembrandt too. But Rockwell and Mort Drucker is a good description of you. But the thing that I would say about Chris, I mean, it's his point of view, his ability to draw, and the point of view of, like, after you meet Chris, you realize where all this stuff comes from. I mean, he does a lot of baseball stuff, but he does a lot of other things too. He's interested in a lot of things, and he uses that as his advantage, or to his advantage as an illustrator. But he's in my mind, he's one of the greatest drawers on the planet, and his drawing and the attitude and the way he draws is so much a part of his personal point of view. Yeah, all the things that people are saying, he's a legend, and he truly is. I mean, he's, you know, Hall of Fame award winner from the Society of Illustrators, Hamilton King Award winner. I mean, he's basically done everything you can do as an illustrator during his time period. which I think is really important to point out too, because, you know, I think he's probably been compared to as a contemporary Rockwell, especially when he was doing the Reader Digest series for Chris. Did that go on for almost 4 years, or?
Yeah, a little over 4 years.
Yeah, and it was kind of a contemporary take on how Norman Rockwell would handle it, but it had his own twist to it. I cut you off again, Chris. You were saying something.
And you know, as much as I've gotten older, it's now, as you know, John, education and teaching illustration has now really become the real passion of what I do, because, you know, I've been so blessed to have, you know, some really good times that illustration has been able to give me. And yet I know there are a lot of young people who are maybe part of this audience. They too want to have that opportunity. And you and I, we share a passion for teaching illustration, but teaching it right so that people have all the tools, all the information they can at their disposal, so they can at least give them a chance, put yourself in a position to succeed. I mean, you know, we can't do the work for you. You do it yourself, but we try to give you the information and the content and instruction that we hope puts you in a good place so that you do have that chance to succeed. And that's
you've used that
passion.
You've used that skill set. I mean, you've traveled in different, you know, morphed from one part of the industry and, you know, focus on, you know, mostly editorial and then a lot of advertising, and then into the book world. And you know, you kind of moved with the industry for a while, but, you know, it's like, you know, you used the skill set that you created and made it work for whatever area of the industry you wanted to work in. Whoop, there's a timer. There's our 20 minutes for our first pose. And Chris, how many time covers have you done?
All right, let me do this here real quick. There we go.
Right.
So,
did you hear that question?
no, I didn't, because the furnace was going there.
Okay. I just asked how many times. I know you showed the David Letterman. I showed it, the time cover. How many covers have you done?
You know, I don't know. I think it's probably close.
That means a lot.
I think it's close to a dozen.
Yeah.
You know, the last one I did was the kids swimming. You know, I've done, the first one I did was a Clinton. You know, some of them were noted. You know, I did, you know, with the Barack Obama one.
I'll finish with this in my explanation of describing Chris. There was a period of time that Chris, he was the most seen illustrator in the world, and he garnered the attention of the industry because of what his capabilities were, and he's aimed it in different places now, but truly was is phenomenal. Go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, last but not least, one of the reasons is, again, you know, those jobs that John was talking about that have a lot of visibility, because they're for news publications, the deadlines are just so horrific. And staying up all night for 48 hours or more straight, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. I can't do that anymore. That's the business for the young ones to do.
All right. Well, Chris,
anyway, I hope this at least comes across, and
bring that close to the camera. You got to be still. There you go. Nice. Beautiful.
Turn it this way, maybe. There we go.
Timmy, do we have, is Ashley going next?
Yeah. Before we,
I know, let's show everything, but we can kind of scroll through what everybody's done, but
so and John, you might notice that the panel has grown substantially. Everyone in the room, I'm showing you all the studios we're in right now. And one of the things I should remind everybody is the whole purpose of this illustration isolation is everyone here is volunteering, they're donating their time. As John was describing Chris's career, all of these artists are rock stars on the list. They've all volunteered. A few of them haven't even volunteered. I just plucked them out of the crowd. So I publicly apologize for some to Dale and
that's
John
really
and Bud and Scott. But yeah, so let's I'm gonna go to everybody that was streaming. I'm gonna show their work. So we're taking a look at Bill Koeb right now. Let's see, 1 second. There we go. All right, you should be able to see Bill's work. Cool. Great. And then here is Audrey Benjaminson.
I started about halfway through it, so.
We've got Brent Watkinson, who is teaching color theory with us, starts on Tuesday. And there's you got 1 day left to sign up.
Nice job.
Awesome work.
Nice one, Brent.
Really nice.
And then Mr. George Pratt.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
George is a big sports enthusiast.
Yeah.
Actually, he was a baseball player. He played baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played baseball about 12 years.
Yeah.
I had no idea, George.
I was a pitcher.
Awesome.
And you were a diver.
Ashley Lovett's work here.
Hello, hello.
Wow.
Hey, Ashley.
Hi.
Thank
Awesome.
you for
Thanks for
joining us.
joining us.
That's really gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. I kept trying to figure out ways to not make it ugly. So we went from ugly to okay.
Is that because
On that note, Ashley is she is doing our next lecture demo for illustration isolation, which is also Tuesday at that's at 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern.
Is that charcoal or pastel?
It's pastels. The new pastels.
And this is Don Kilpatrick.
Hey,
Don. Hey,
I
Don.
got started kind of late too, so
Nice, Don.
hey, thanks.
Awesome. All right. John, I'm going to go ahead and start getting those other photos uploaded.
Okay.
And then maybe you can kind of, while we're doing that, one of the things I would encourage while these photos are uploading, because sometimes they're a bit larger, I recommend everybody just finished drawing,
Post it.
please post it. And if you don't know how to post it, you can go to our Facebook group. The link is on the page that you picked your reference from. It's on the left-hand side. Or if you're on a mobile device, it's probably above the reference photos. You can join our Facebook group. You can post it there. Or you can tag us on Instagram using hashtag illustration isolation and at Visual Arts Passage. Please be sure to do that because that is the only way John's gonna be able to find it. So do that. And then John, who is up next?
Well, I think we discussed that Ashley was. Are you okay with that, Ashley? Ashley?
I had to unmute myself. Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. She's ready. She's always ready.
Yeah.
All right. And Ashley's photos are
Yeah, I only had the one.
the one.
The one.
It's a photo of the couple. It's from I
Yes.
assume that was a Little Mermaid.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Okay.
And I got a question just asked to me, Carly asked, and I'm going to ask this to all the people that are drawing that we're featuring. She asked, what are some poses that you would recommend for a beginner? And I'll state it first, and it's like, you know, things that are, I would say any of them, because you need to practice everything. I think it's really important to practice drawing when you're drawing the figures. Make sure you include the feet hitting the ground, because it's going to, you'll benefit from that a tremendous amount over time.
Yes.
But maybe things that where the appendages aren't completely all over the place, but there's two sides to that. And it's like, if the pose is more difficult, that's just more practice for you. If things are a little bit more spread out, this is all observational drawing in a 20-minute pose. And so, you're looking at it, you're reacting to it, you're trying to inform your drawing with what you see. So I don't think about poses being some more difficult than others, but I think anything that has a lot of foreshortening in it or hands coming straight at you, they can be difficult.
That's a different kind of lesson altogether.
Yeah, right. George or Chris, you want to say anything about that? About a beginner choosing a pose? I think they stepped away.
I would say put in hands and feet, because you don't want to draw them, so you need to draw them.
Yeah, I think I echo that.
Yeah, and have proper lighting as well, because you're not going to do yourself any favors if you don't have a very distinguished light source and shadow, as a beginner.
Start with one light source.
Yeah.
And just to reinforce what John said earlier, I always think it's important to have the figure, it's the figure ground concept. You always want to have it relating to its immediate surroundings. And, if you're drawing someone sitting on a stool, you don't want them floating there. You want that stool in that image, so it relates, that ground plane, if this figure's leaning against the wall, you want to make sure it relates to its immediate surroundings.
I would say too, simplify the background so you don't have a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
The figure, like if you're in a class, put the figure against the wall.
Definitely.
And use the things on the wall. Use the shapes around the figure to ground the figure. Like if they're standing on a platform, put the platform in, or the chair, or whatever.
I was going to say, sometimes if you even get a pose that you think is boring, you can find something in the pose, whether it's just the folds in a shirt and turn it into a fold study, or just a head study. You don't have to do the whole thing. You usually can find something, even in something that you think is relatively dull, that you can convert into something that you can use for yourself.
That's your job.
Yep.
And never too early to start practicing. So.
And I would also add, it depends on what materials you're working with. Sometimes a picture you choose might work better as a drawing versus a painting. So when you're going through and picking your reference, you can take that into account as well.
And so everybody, the photos are uploaded.
Charlie asked the question, what's the first thing you focus on your reference? I always try to find a plumb line and relate it to where the weight of the figure is, and trying to see the whole figure at once in shape, and then trying to see where the weight is, angles of shoulders, and just try to get like the immediate gesture. Maybe that's not the first thing. I mean, that's a lot of things to be thinking about, but that's really what I try to do is I squint a lot and try to see the whole shape of the figure.
Okay, John. So we are in Ashley's studio.
A section of Ashley's studio. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So the reference photo that I have is from my Little Mermaid book that I did last year. This is a self-published book. And this is my couple, my model. models, she's a dancer, so she was really good at posing and understanding her body and shapes and stuff. And this is her husband, Jonathan, and he just took direction really well. We both had a lot of fun. And this photo might look a little weird because, like, why are they like this with the shed and then the wooden bar or whatever? But my plan was to turn this into like a ship scene. So that's why her hand's up. It ended up not going with this particular scene for the book, but I thought it was still, you know, good reference that had a very distinguishable light source, cast shadows. I had other photos, but honestly, I ended up kind of Frankensteining them together so much that I felt this was one of the few that just as a photo would work well, considering that this is a figure class. So I'm going to focus on Jonathan because I like doing portraits, and I was good, and I did a full figure on the last one. So how I like to start things, I do work with chalk pastels. Right now, they all look like they're about the same color. It's a bit dirty right now. You can't see it, and I don't want to adjust it just yet, but usually I have these sitting on like a wire, like fish wire or whatever, so the pastel doesn't quite accumulate like this, but I've just been lazy. And I'll be using just 3 different shades. I use white, and I've got like just random old shirt that I wiped them off. So now you can see that that is actually white. And then I have my black. And then I'll have what's basically just like a mid-tone. And this is what I'm going to use in the beginning to kind of map out where my figure is going to go. And it's funny, like, I know what my bad habits are at this point. I have a tendency of making like the face too big to where it won't fit on the composition, the frame that I have here. So I'm kind of trying to be conscious of that and making sure that I'm putting down an image that has a good composition, meaning like good shapes, good background shapes, and so it kind of sits on this paper in an interesting way. And over time, you just get better at knowing what you are sucky at. Like on my last one, I don't do as well when it comes to legs and weight, so I really wanted to focus on that. So right now, I'm kind of paying attention to the background shapes, the negative shapes. So this out here around his face and neck and shoulders. And I just kind of bounce around by breaking these down into shapes. So like this shape right here with his hairline. And this is the ugly stage. You're not trying to make something perfect. It's all about kind of like the movement and gestures and just general implied lines that you notice. One of the lessons that I got from a teacher back in college, I went to Ringling College of Art and Design, and then later did school with visual arts passage later on. But at Ringling, I had a figure teacher who said that you should never be precious with your work because it just will hold you back. You know, you got to be willing to destroy it, basically. And see, already I'm like making the face, and I'm like, oh, I didn't make his face big enough. This is the stage where I don't like to commit to a whole lot at the beginning. It's more of just finding the image on the paper. So it goes by very quickly. And if any point that my camera, the white balance is off and you just can't see anything, let me know. I have it at a certain setting right now.
Camera looks great, Ashley.
Okay. I have to do I have to turn off autofocus or else it'll just go crazy. All right. So now that I have something very general and ugly, I'm going to go in with my darker color and just distinguish more of these shapes. Trying to keep in mind, all right, I got a light source, it's coming from this direction. So that means that, you know, you're going to have your highlights on this side with your cast shadows on this side. I like to start with the nose. I don't know why. Our new pastels, they're a little different than regular pastels. Let's see if I have a regular pastel somewhere around here. I do, but not within reach, or else I'll probably end up knocking over my webcam. But anyway, these are a harder pastel. They have more binder in them. They also come in like little squares, or rectangles, I should say, instead of rounded. So because they're a little bit harder, it actually is a little bit easier to use. And I do like the new pastels. I'm just kind of blocking it in. Because often while I'm drawing, I'm like, well, nope, that doesn't look right. And then I'll go back, adjust, come back. And then here in a little while, I'll add in like my highlights and stuff. And that's when things will really start to pop.
Ashley, I was just curious. Did you grow up in Kansas City?
No, I'm from Louisiana.
Okay. But yeah. Are you currently in Kansas City now?
I am in Louisiana. We moved back about 2 years ago, and so we have a house and everything. But I had family in Kansas City, and then my husband.
Piecing it together in my head now. Now it makes sense.
Yeah, that's why I like hung out there so much.
Okay, I was like, wait, no, I'm pretty sure.
Because their kids had already moved out, and I was able to, you know, steal their bed, their extra bedroom and everything. So that's why I got to enjoy the workshops and stuff.
Oh, that's so great.
So he's looking kind of funny right now, but usually it comes together towards the end. It's always making something really ugly and then working your way to making it not ugly. Again, trying to pay attention to my shapes and stuff. Hang on. Let me grab something. Okay. Something else that I want to bring up is your lighting. Whenever you're drawing, you want to make sure that your light sources, your hand isn't casting like a huge shadow across what you're drawing. You don't want to be fighting with your drawing while you're working on it. Men and beards. It's always fun to draw. So Jonathan might end up looking like someone out of Castaway. But that's okay because this is just a 20-minute session. This is more about building up and learning how to find your shapes and just making something out of it. Because I know like none of my figure drawing stuff from the last sessions really look like the person. Ah. Okay. So now that I have like some dark darks and some general like midtones, I'll go in with my white and then like really try to pop in some of these highlights. Okay. So as I was working on this, I was trying to decide whether I wanted to put the details in my highlighted area or in the shadows. And I think it would look best to do my details within the shadow, like when I do most of my value ranges in the darks. Let's see. I should probably be talking more about what I'm doing. Let's see. I kind of just dive in and just try to find my shapes. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to this forehead and distinguish more of this hairline. He's starting to look more like someone from a Western. All right, so since I want to kind of make this look darker, I'm going to use the white next to it, which I've already kind of done here. But that helps basically give this more contrast because you've got your sharp lines against your, or a hard line right here. Give him a Wolverine haircut. Now let's see if we can figure out this shirt. Usually when I'm working on an illustration that isn't limited to 20 minutes, I'm better at sticking with my initial outline, but I went a little wild with this one. But at least it's still fitting on the page nicely.
So I just went to go get a glass of water and I came back and I was like, how has it been 45 minutes?
45 minutes.
This looks great. And somebody in the comments actually just said, it's hard to believe this is a 20-minute drawing.
Oh, well, thanks, because I don't know. I get
I was like, how long
wary about demos. So that's good. I'm looking forward to sending this to Jonathan after this. Be like, look, it's you, sort of. He gets really tickled when I show him my sketches and drawings that has him in them. And I know for the Tuesday one, I was thinking about using, this is just newsprint, because I wanted to use something that's, you know, anyone can get at any kind of craft store. So when I'm working on, when I find like fun little shapes or highlights that can really help give this more dimension. So like in the collar here, you've got these little pops of highlights. I see those as great opportunities to kind of give it more interest. So I'm like, ooh, that's nice. Let's make sure we put that in there. And I love finding those little moments. I mean, there's more within the face that I'll get to, like along this cheek line area, because, you know, it also gives it more form in a sense of it having, you know, it's protruding outward, which is what's so great about these highlights. And they're my favorite part to put in. You just got to be careful to not do too many highlights. You're like, ooh, this works. Let me put it every other place on in my illustration, which is one of the habits I used to have. Like I'd put down a really fun mark and then I'd try to repeat that, mimic it. And that was a bad habit because it made it less interesting. So let me figure out this guy's hair. Should give him like Wolverine hair because it's kind of what I'm thinking of. Also, it's kind of fun about just putting down marks that are kind of fast and more about your gut is, you know, it's interesting mark making. You can find happy little accidents when you're working that way. And it takes time to get to that point to where you feel confident to just put down stuff willy-nilly and just kind of find your drawing within it. I've done a lot of ugly drawings, and still I have done bad drawings, but you know, it just takes time to work up to coming up with a design language that looks like, you know, your style, your voice. Yeah. Oh yeah, going back. So this is just regular newsprint. Whenever I go to do my demo on Tuesday, I'll be using what I normally use, which is BFK Reeves printmaking paper. A lot more forgivable. Once the pastel gets into the tooth of this paper, which tooth is just basically, like if you were to put the paper under a microscope and look at it, it literally has like little ridges, kind of like, I guess, our pores. That's what I keep thinking of. I think of those like blackhead commercials. But anyway, the tooth on the newsprint, once the pastel gets into this tooth, it's hard to kind of bring it back. Whereas with the printmaking paper I like to use, not printmaking, yeah, printmaking, sorry. I'm trying to draw and think about drawing at the same time. It's just easier to use. It's more forgivable. I can like the give and take is much better, and that's why I've been using it for years. And so I'm looking forward to showing that, but for tonight I just went with good old newsprint. All right, let's see what else I can do to this thing to make it interesting. Because even now, like I'm trying to put in more black and it just won't go anywhere. So instead I'll have to choose a shade that is a slightly lighter and put that next to it, and that'll kind of help. But if I had my BFK Reeves, I'd literally just wipe it away and then be able to get back down to that tooth. But at least with newsprint, you can get this at, you know, Hobby Lobby or Michael's or wherever. And now I'm just kind of going in and trying to decide how can I make this thing better, more interesting. It's a little wonky right now.
Everybody, I'm just going to zoom out just real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be able to see kind of what's going on in everyone's studio. It's pretty cool. We've got a lot of really amazing artists with us. If you're just joining, we were just watching Ashley Lovett, who's on the left center. And then we also have Bill Koeb, George Pratt, Audrey Benjaminsen, Don Kilpatrick, Scott Anderson, and whole list of other artists on the panel as well. And we'll just be featuring them throughout the night, whoever's sharing their work. We're going to go back to back to Ashley's studio.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Roberts just said, "Good grief."
So I'm actually going to look at my computer screen to see if I can, because what's fun is when I'm looking at this and then I look to my right at the actual computer screen, I can see this a little bit smaller to kind of decide where my bigger shapes are. So that's something I would suggest for artists to squint, like really try to break apart their drawing or the figure into, you know, simple shapes and try to figure out what is going to work to build this, like this portrait. Let's see. So I do wish we could have used this illustration. I say we. I don't know why I said we. I'm the one who built the entire book. I wish I could have used this illustration idea for the book. But after I pieced together all of the text and InDesign, and I just realized that this wasn't gonna work with the flow, and I needed to do something else. But often I have a ton of photos from different sessions that I did with them. I'm gonna get out some more white. Something about these new pastels, and I wish I get that they did it to make it easier whenever you're checking out, but they'll put like glue for the paper, so you have to go in with an X-Acto blade and scrape all that glue off. So I will say, if you ever get new pastels, remember that, or else you're gonna get a bunch of like gunk on your drawing.
James Martin and I are going to drive down to Mexico where they make those.
Yeah.
And we're going to take some baseball bats and find the guy who wraps those.
Glad to know I'm not the only one that was like, what the hell?
No, it's like the biggest pain.
That's funny. I bet, yeah, the cashiers appreciated it. But yeah.
Rob Nemeth is in. He's with us.
I was wondering where that was going when you said baseball bat. I'm like, huh, this is not a joyride.
Oh, it is a joyride.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like we're going to watch the beautiful process of how they make these pastels. Let's see. So whenever I get so much like pastel dust on, if I were able to zoom in, there's a bunch of dust all over this thing. I literally just use a can of air to get rid of what I can. And make him suave. I feel like I need to put like seagulls in here or something, since technically his hair is supposed to be blowing in the wind. Let's go to that. Let me look at that. Add some more narrative to this. I have on my website more of these photo shoots that I can share in the link, where I actually talk about the best ways to shoot reference of your models, how to make them comfortable. I always have music playing whenever I have models come in, because it does make a difference. I can't stand like doing this kind of stuff in complete silence. Even now I have a little bit of music playing because I get too in my head whenever I'm drawing if I don't have some kind of music playing. How much time do we have left on this guy? Mr. Tim or
Hey,
John?
believe it or not, I'm not the timekeeper. I bet
My goodness.
John is probably going to chime in any second.
Okay.
And he'll let you know.
Okay.
I got to imagine we're getting close.
Okay.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. All right. Vroom, vroom. I do feel like I'm just kind of playing around at this point. I don't want to overwork it with highlights and other things. So I'll just play with the background some.
How have you trained yourself or learned how to not overwork something?
I would say whenever I start adding in too many highlights, it's like, okay, girl, like you're there.
Yeah.
But
It's like a J.J. Abrams flair or something.
Yeah. Basically, you know when you're overdoing it. But like, when is an illustration finished? Sometimes whenever it's a personal project, that's really hard to do. Oftentimes I'll have to get a friend to look at it and be like, okay, is anything bothering you about this? Or I'll bring in my husband, Matthew, who he's not an illustrator, but I value his opinion because he's always good at pointing out things that just kind of look weird or make me want to kind of reconsider stuff. And then sometimes if it's like for a job, often it's just finished, not perfect, which we've all heard that phrase as well. But yeah. And I got little anchors to his shirt. I just noticed that he has anchors on his shirt, so I'll just do a little pattern. Let's see. Oh, I was talking about making your models comfortable. I even have like blooper sessions that we ended up having with this couple, and I'll include that link whenever I'm done with this, after I wipe my hands off. Which, by the way, baby wipes are like the best thing whenever you're working with pastels and you don't want to wash your hands a whole bunch. Baby wipes.
All right, that was the timer.
Huzzah. This is Logan's brother from X-Men.
Yeah, I see that. Oh, all right. Well, Ashley, thanks so much. That is so cool. I'm gonna zoom out. And
yeah, I'll try working on talking while I do demos, especially for
No, it's great.
Okay, because it got quiet.
That was
and I was
perfect.
like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to talk. So.
No, you know what's fun about this one is a lot of people are drawing with us right now, so they're not asking questions.
Okay.
I think the first night we did this, I was like, come on, people, ask questions, and somebody just said, I'm drawing. Yeah, so no, it's fine. And okay. Right now, everybody, you can see some of the artists that are joining us tonight. I'll zoom in and we'll take a closer look. We're in Bill Koeb's studio. Here we go.
Someone had asked, is there any reason you use your fingers rather than a device for shading? I mean, you can use, I've been sent like this kind of stuff that's like a little spongy, whatever. But I like using my hands. But I know this drives other people like nuts using like their hand. I think, John, you hate using pastels like I do.
Yeah, it's not my favorite thing, but I've gotten used to it.
Okay.
Okay, so we're looking at, this is Bill Koeb's studio.
Fun.
Hey, Bill. And we're going to stop by George Pratt in Sarasota. Very cool. Don Kilpatrick in Detroit.
That's cool. I like that.
So great.
Thank you.
Audrey, also in Detroit,
Lovely.
outside of Detroit, very on the edge of
Ann Arbor. It's an hour.
An hour outside of Detroit, Ann Arbor. Sorry, my apologies. I tried. I was like, I'm gonna nail everybody. I'm gonna get it right. And then Scott Anderson.
Say the edge of Detroit.
Edge of Detroit. And then Scott Anderson, Virginia, right? No?
Oh, he's in Santa Barbara.
Nope, totally wrong. I don't know how I had that one wrong.
Damn, sticking out.
Looks great. Mixed up my coasts. This is great, Scott. Wow. Thanks for joining.
Sorry, it took me forever to unmute. That's why my camera showed so much.
No worries. I just assumed that I had upset you.
Damn it.
pretty bad.
I love seeing everyone working on the same portrait. That's so cool. It was fun.
Yeah, and then John, we're in your studio, Kansas City.
There you go.
Hey.
Awesome. Wow. Very cool. Well, everybody, it's really awesome. I just zoomed out. We can see everybody. You can see kind of the thumbnails of everybody drawing if you're on a desktop, and it's pretty, you know, Ashley, like you said, it's really cool to see everybody working from the same piece. What's even crazier and just way cooler is just a reminder, please post your work. If this is the first drawing you did with us, if you missed the first one, post it to our Facebook group, which you can join from our photo reference page, or post it to Instagram at #illustration_isolation. And just be sure to tag at Visual Arts Passage as well. And yeah, draw on.
Hey, Timmy.
John, the other photo is John, the other photos are uploaded, and we're
Audrey.
We're ready for Audrey.
Yeah.
Mr. Payne.
Yeah, it says my video is stopped for whatever reason. I try to click on it. It says the host has stopped it.
I'll help you out with that, Chris. Don't worry about it.
What did I do?
Don't take it personally, Chris.
Don't take it personally, Chris. No, I'll help you out with it. But we'll keep this. We're gonna keep this train moving. And
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But everybody, we're gonna stop by Audrey's studio.
Nice.
Audrey, awesome. Thanks for drawing with us, and thank you for sending the reference. If you're on our webpage right now and you're not seeing the reference, just hit refresh. You'll see that there are 2 new images, and get ready to draw.
All right.
But definitely post your work. Definitely post your work. Don't rush too much.
Yeah, it's great to keep in mind that all of you are drawing too, and that it's
really easy to forget that there's that there are hundreds of other people that are coming in and out of the room, and that you're not drawing alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost as if the featured artist is somewhat supplying an okay podcast for you.
I think it's a pretty good podcast.
I think it is too. I'm just, trying to keep my wits about me. So I'm kind of in a portrait mood, so I'm probably gonna do the one of Marahari that I had. So I have so many other cool ones that I saved on my phone too. But since I have small paper today, I think that one will do. It's very easy portrait to start thinking about with acrylic paint, because it's very shape focused. I love a good silhouette. So today I am taking a total change from what I have been doing. If any of you guys have seen the stuff that I've posted from other weeks, I mostly was doing watercolor and pen. So today I just got my acrylic paints out. I adjusted I matte mediumed some paper, and I'm just gonna do some acrylic on that. Most of the paintings that, most of the photo reference that people supplied today was very lighting focused, and I noticed that when I was doing my watercolor and ink, I was spending a lot of time on having fun line art and shapes, and sometimes I just need a break from that. So I'm gonna put a base color down and then have some fun with that silhouette. I'll talk through my process if I feel like there's something, insightful to say about it, but
is that Matahari or Pebble?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. That's the one I'm gonna go from. Just I really like that photo just because it does a really cool job of doing the light on dark, dark on light straight across it. I think it'll be fun to try to apply some color. I love working from black and white photos too, to try to just invent my own color from it. I think it's fun. I always thought that that was the most impossible thing in the world. And, you know, maybe when I was in high school, I did a lot of monochromatic drawings and paintings, like probably most high schoolers do. And I don't know when it quite happened. I think it was probably when I took a landscape class, and I realized that the most boring landscapes of all were the ones where people, I don't know, they didn't try to imply any color, or they didn't try to make any big choices about color, you know, based on their own taste. They're just trying to mix all these grays and muddy greens that they thought that they were seeing. And then it kind of hit me that I could do that same sort of thing with, you know, people or any other subject too. So, permission to make things up. It's nice to know we have that. Again, like Ashley was saying, so I sometimes have the tendency to, you know, not get the whole thing in the picture. So I always try to think about that first.
As you're starting out right now, Audrey, what are you kind of, what are your, what's your strategy, or what's your approach?
Shape first. I love character is my favorite thing about art, I think, or one of my favorites. So I am thinking that about exaggerating some of the forms here. It's not going to be a full-on, you know, caricature, but I love drawing with a little interest. So one of my first painting teachers, Hodges Swallow, that I'm sure I've mentioned a couple times at Ringling, he encouraged us to draft with flatter shapes when we were doing figure drawing, and that's something that has always helped me. Thinking about structure, and then thinking about you know, you can change a straight line a lot easier than a curvy one, but I like letting you know, curves come a little bit later, and it really helps you find the angle and the personality of faces too. So I don't know if this will look too much like her, but I've kind of jutted out her silhouette a little bit. So I'm in drafting brain right now, and I'll zoom out with my eyeballs since I'm painting. Sometimes I've honestly I'll go to like touch my paper and squeeze it, and like I'm squeezing a screen. I'm sure we've all done that.
I've started doing digital stuff, and I find myself doing that to my traditional, and it's like such a
so funny. Yeah. Now, like I've heard of the Control-Z, but for myself, I'm just starting to get to that place where I just start doing the squeezy thing. I imagine kids do that too, like kids that were raised on digital, just you know, touch screen technology. Yeah. Another thing about character design that I really enjoy thinking about is just like color. When I put a color down, I've been telling my students this. when I put a color down, I try to look for other opportunities where that color might be appearing. I do the same thing with shape language. When I put down a shape, like the angles of her profile, I also put some of those angles in other places. So there's a harmony in the shapes that are happening throughout the piece. They all almost like, you know, they're all in the same room, you know, they're all in the same family. I love that. It helps things look more intentional. So because I started with a ground, I'm going to go through with a lighter color, and I'm going to make a fun silhouette. That's what I love, love, love about painting versus like the, you know, the way I was working before, the ink or ink and watercolor. I love being able to control edges. It's honestly, I love designing an entire character or a piece, just having it be about the edges and the give and take of the silhouette, and letting that do most of the work. So sometimes you can make just an average kind of sketch that much better if you be a little patient, and you can work both sides to push and pull. You can change things so easily. So I'm gonna shush for a second while I do this. I need to use my focus brain. Just kidding, I can't shush. But another thing that I wanted to mention, when I'm thinking about character too, and you know, obviously this is not a caricature, but when I'm drawing with character, I try to think about the essence of the shapes, the essence of the person, but also of the shapes. So one thing that I try to think about is plumb lines everywhere. So when I put in this neck, very quickly, I just wanted to see where does the neck generally line up with, and I'll look and I'll go, you know, my eyes will shoot straight to, you know, the corner of the eye triangle, and I'm like, okay, at least, you know, even if I'm drawing with character, at least I know that things are lining up in a somewhat believable place. Even if I'm exaggerating or changing things, I still check that things, you know, I just do quick eyeballs, quick checks that things are lining up in a somewhat believable place. So that's you know, I think that's important. Just, you know, you can break the rules all you want, but you still want to make it look like things fit together.
Hey, Audrey, I don't mean to interrupt your drawing too much, but your webcam kind of got a little laggy on my end. And so I was just wondering, and I think that I just kind of confirmed that I think it might be worth just like unplugging your webcam and replugging it back in. And that might be a little helpful. I don't want to, John, can we pause Audrey's clock to give her like a minute? Can we add a minute to the 20?
I can't do that, but we should go ahead and do it anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this will fix it, but everybody, you know, thanks for being patient. It's kind of the nature of everybody being on the internet all at once.
Okay, well, unplug it from.
It's just a classic unplug and replug to fix the problem.
Okay, sorry, I unplugged my light.
Okay. And yeah, the light might help as well.
Okay.
Everybody, Audrey, sorry for stopping you in the middle of this.
No.
She stepped away. She'll be back any second.
We'll never
There you
see.
guys are.
and it, you know, it's still fine. It's just
So I probably am now gonna have to do that thing with my settings too.
okay.
Is it better now?
It's a little better. It's zoomed in, but it's
I know,
better on
I
my
have to
end,
go-
so.
I have to go
Sorry,
back to
Audrey.
It's okay. I'll never forgive you, but we'll move on.
I ruined it. Yeah, no.
In the sun. Okay.
Yeah, take your
All right,
time.
you fix that. Fix the zoomy thing. So it had to do with the audio and everything, right?
No, it was just the video quality, and I think it's
Okay.
already improved. So.
Okay. Sure, it wasn't just the trying.
No.
No, actually, Audrey, my drawing's so bad it's affecting your video quality.
Yeah, Don
Wow,
Kilpatrick.
John, that's called power.
That's a bad drawing, is what I'm saying. Mine's so bad it's ruining yours.
Oh man. Sorry, Audrey. I'll let you get back to it.
It's okay.
Yeah, you're fine.
We'll move on. The survivor.
Don knows that I'm just trying to throw. Don just said, "See how you are" to me. He just knows I'm trying to throw hurdles at all the artists. It's like
So
that.
he's like, "This is a
Yeah.
test."
Have you ever watched that? There's like a YouTube show where this guy interviews celebrities while they eat hot wings that get escalatingly more and more hot, and that's like what we're doing. But we give you guys tech problems while you're drawing.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. It's called
This is
Hot
part of
Wings.
the
It's
interview.
great. It's actually really fun because it's incredibly awkward.
Do they ask more important questions as they have more and more food in their mouth?
I believe that the questions become hotter topics as the hot wings get hotter.
Oh,
It's a really cheesy
cool.
concept, but like it is. It's like a perform under pressure interview style.
I'm waiting for the interview at the dentist TV show. Where they ask you really important questions as soon as they start working on you, because that's real life. So I'm going in with my darkest values now that I put it in my lightest values. I don't really have a way that I paint. I think the subject of my painting dictates more about the order that I do things rather than myself having a particular procedure. A lot of things just depend on the objective. So I feel like that's worth pointing out. As I mentioned earlier, that's a lot of times how I decide what material to use too. I try to analyze just a quick, thought process, what kind of material will suit like my mood and what I'm trying to do, and that's when I go through it. If I'm feeling like something can best come to life with with line, because I love line work, and I even love doing line work with graphite pencil and how rough and chunky it looks. And I always kind of got the feeling from other illustrators that was a drafting technique and not a finished art technique. But I like to prove my own thoughts and things wrong. So I try to do really clean, very kind of graphic handling with pencil. And I've definitely included it in finished works before combining it digitally. And I love doing that. And I've gotten really good feedback. So I think it's a successful use of, or as I say with ballpoint pens, everyone in college was like, nah, you don't do ballpoint pen for finished art. And I was like, let me try. And you can. So I mean, it just depends. Ballpoint pen has a pencil-y look. So it's all about intention. But yeah, for this one, because of how the picture looks, doing these darks next. I think that there is going to be a new wave of young painters, young Gen Z painters who are going to be really good. And my theory in that is because they are going to be so familiar with photo editing techniques on phones and filters that they're going to innately understand, what makes good photo reference, and they're going to understand concepts in painting and sensitivity and image and observation that some people, really had to practice and learn. But I think being born with photo editing tools is really gonna hopefully make some good painters and raise the bar. I always think about photo editing apps when I'm painting. It's kind of funny. Didn't always do that, but all right. And Timmy, there's officially no questions, right? Because everyone's drawing. I just want to be clear.
Oh yeah. Everyone is busy drawing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Good. It's fine.
Really
my
good.
anxiety just doesn't want to leave anyone hanging.
So Audrey, why did you, and I apologize if I'm kind of making you backpedal, but why did you choose these two photos?
Well, I don't have a very complicated answer to that. I don't have a very profound answer other than, I think that the one in the chair had nice shapes and scale, and then the portrait one had some, lighting that I thought would be fun. It had a simplicity and a complexity at the same time, and that's something that I always look for in reference. Something a simple part and then a complex part mixed together. To me, usually make a good picture. And I love turn of the century, not just fashion, but costume fashion. I think that, some of the first times that film was available, there were some people, people got really wild. So about their costumes and what they wanted to photograph. So, man, there's some really fun, just Hollywood, Halloween, all different kinds of like party costumes that people came up with at turn of the century.
Was there like a movie or a show or something you grew up with that kind of pulled you in that direction, or like created that affinity, that interest?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I think I'm saying his name right. The director, Millet, the father of film.
I'll do some Googling research.
Yeah, no. I think I'm saying his name right. But I mean, he was the one that did like the voyage to the journey to the moon, and I think it's the Jolly Frolics of Satan, the Joyful Frolics of Satan, something like that. But he had all these really funny, quick, 20-minute films that were honestly
featured in that movie Hugo. That
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, if anyone's ever seen Hugo Cabret, it's back. I feel bad that I can't remember his first name, but his last name
George.
is Millet. George Millet. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh,
It's
oh no. You stumped me.
but
Audrey, you don't have
sorry,
to.
what was it?
You don't have to remember anything. Chris is here. We're good.
Thank you.
Chris,
Yeah,
who was the grip on that film?
Your mama.
But there's a couple of those movies that I saw when I was younger where I was like, what is happening? Like I couldn't quite piece together what was happening, but I knew that there were a lot of people and I couldn't tell if they were wearing costumes or if they were cut out of paper. But some of his movies that I saw when I was younger, they kind of just looked like weird cutout collages, and I didn't know what time they were from. I didn't have the language or the art history, well apparently still don't, but to describe that when I was younger. And yeah, but I loved how they were almost part animated, part collage, part acted, part stop motion. They just kind of were everything. And I loved not really knowing how something was made. And I loved how kind of bizarre and joyful everybody seemed to be having like a good time, and kind of looked like a film, but also a party. And I think that a lot of times when we look at old photographs or you think about history, you don't think about all the weirdos having fun like there's always been in life. And there's
yeah, I'm
always a
looking
bunch of
I'm
weirdos
looking at all of
having
his
fun.
imagery now, and it all makes sense now. I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is crazy. So you're young enough that you've never seen Seinfeld, but then I'm looking at his movies and I'm like,
Okay.
whoa, this is trippy.
All right,
I love
Tim.
it. It's really
You've
great.
outed
I had
me
to make
for
a
the
Seinfeld jab.
anachronism that I am.
I had to make a Seinfeld jab.
Yeah.
No, this
I
is
don't
great.
know.
I recommend to everybody check this out. I'm gonna share a link. Not now. Don't check it out now. Stay here.
Yeah. And I think I was wrong. I think it was the Merry Frolics. I can't remember that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't remember the adjective here, but the Dark Lord Satan was certainly having a great time in that film. So, questions to ask myself now. Do I want to keep this monochromatic or what? I feel like I'm going to be gutsy. How much time? What are we working with? I know it's getting kind of chatty.
My fault, Audrey. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
8 seconds. So
8 seconds?
So
hurry.
Wait, really?
Minutes to it, because I added some because of the time. Let me. How much more time do you want?
Don't worry about it. I mean, it's whatever we have for tonight.
I'll just go for 2 more minutes.
Yeah. I was just gonna be kind of funny and add some green tones in here just because. Yeah, I usually will sit for like 20 minutes to a half hour, like after, and just kind of look at what I did and sometimes play with it after. So I'll probably do the same.
All right, there's the 2 minutes.
All right. Well, thank you for that.
I just zoomed out. We're looking at 7 studios. These are all the people that are drawing with us tonight. Bill Koeb, we're stopping by your studio. Very cool. Wow. Don Kilpatrick. Hey. Scott Anderson. Wow. George Pratt. Wow.
That's beautiful, George.
Yeah, wow.
Love that attitude.
Ashley Lovett.
Way to go,
wow, very cool.
Yeah, I really want to go for the jewelry, which I knew was
I know. I saved that for
20 minutes.
Simple but complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, a few extras. Chris, we're in your studio. You might try holding it a little closer. I'm curious. I think we're catching a bit of there's like a weird contrast or saturation. Wow. Very cool. And Brent. Very cool.
Sweet, Brent.
Awesome. Awesome. John says, bravo, everyone. Thanks for sharing.
And so George Pratt is up next. And George.
Is that his sound effect?
Yeah, that's his sound effect.
That's his walk up. That's his walk. We're going to have to do walk up songs for everyone.
That's my message. And it was from George, him sending me the last drawing. So George has got, I think, 6 photos to draw from. And George, you want to talk about where these come from?
Does he? I only have 2.
From when I was shooting Enemy Ace reference for my first graphic novel. And Vincent, the man posing for these, he sold things on the street in Brooklyn. And I'd already gone to like nursing homes looking for a model and had found one guy who would have been perfect. And then he started telling me stories about when he was in World War II. And then the nuns called me the next day and said, you know, he shouldn't be doing this, because he started having, I think, PTSD from the stories he was telling me. So I kept badgering Vincent, and he kept holding out. And finally he was like, okay, yeah, all right, I'll do it. And so I did 2 sessions with him from my layouts that I'd done, and this was back in the day, we're shooting 35 millimeter film. So now,
George,
yeah.
Just to let you know that I only sent Timmy 4 of the photos. So they'll have 4 to choose from.
All right. Well, I've got 7 I'm working from. So
just for the sake of tonight, let's make sure we've got a photo that the students have access to.
Yeah, well, they can, I was going to try and do, I think that one's in there.
Yeah, I don't have the one that you have up on the page.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah.
I know there's one that's similar.
Yeah, it's the other way.
This one.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, but I'm going to work from this one.
Thanks, George. Really, really appreciate that.
Hey,
George.
I sent you every one of these.
No, I only have 6.
All right. We'll debate it later.
Okay.
So I was going to just on this one, just have fun with just white on the tan paper. And then I was going to real quick switch over to one of the ones where he's where the other one of him, which is this one.
I got it, Timmy. I'll send it to you.
That one there.
Just like you, George. It's like the Illustration Academy where you make your like only red M&Ms demand, and you know,
Right.
everything has to be perfect. No, John's sending me the photo, so I'll get it uploaded. Everybody, if you just hold on, we're heading to George Pratt's studio where he's getting what appears to be a head start on everyone.
No, 'cause I'm gonna, all right, so I'm just going to play with light and not try to add any of the darks here, and let the tone be the darkest, the stuff be the darkest dark. And just play with the way the light's falling on his face, which is fun. Man. All right. Let's see. And this, it may or may not work, but.
Yeah, I'm going to suggest you just pick another photo to draw from if you haven't. It's become complicated.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Not you, George.
Not you, George. Not you, George. Keep drawing.
Oh, too late.
Oh no, this is no surprise.
All right.
Sorry. Here we go. Here we go.
Let me flip this so it's smaller.
Ashley, thanks for sharing that link. Very cool.
You're
I
welcome.
love seeing your process, Ashley.
Well, thanks. That one's
You're the best.
it took a while to find that post, but yeah, it should be helpful. It's on my Patreon, so I made it public. I have to skedaddle, sadly, but I wanted to, throw that up there, and thank you guys for letting me join. I look forward to next week.
Ashley, thank you so much for doing
Ashley,
that.
yeah.
We look forward to seeing you on Tuesday.
Yeah, me too.
So awesome to have you here. Thank you, Ashley.
Take care.
I'm gonna have to
Thanks,
see what
Ashley. Good to
George
see you again.
does. I'm gonna come back and see what this looks like later tonight because I'm super curious. I always love watching George work.
Take care, Ashley.
Bye.
Say, John, it's after 9. I got to run out too real quick, okay?
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Thanks
Okay,
again, Chris.
I think I've posted on the website, so let me know if I need to later on, okay?
I saw it coming through. It looks great.
Take
Thank
care,
you
Chris.
so much, Chris. Great.
All right, guys.
Talking to me, Chris.
Be good. George, knock it out.
Take care, man.
All right.
Say it louder. Everybody can hear it. I love you, George.
You can hear John in the background. Hey, John. John Foster. So, George, what are some of the first thoughts that come to mind when you start drawing, just like right now, or when you start working?
Working with the original drawing that I was working with.
Yeah.
That was the first thought.
I knew that was going to come. I knew that was going to come at a cost. That pivot. There was no way we were going to get that for free.
It's those. It's the. This is almost too heavy, but I'll try and work with it. I just love the light play on his face. the shadows and stuff. That's when I shoot reference, generally I'm working with like just a single 100-watt bulb and moving it around to try and get the most out of, you know, the play of light on the face or whatever form it is I'm trying to illustrate. I'm using this thing, so it's not going to be.
I actually have a photography question for you, George. I've noticed that a lot of illustrators, especially the good ones, when they shoot reference, tend to use specular light opposed to using something with diffusion.
Yeah.
Is there an advantage to that? Or is it just is it just the sheer fact of it being easier and a lighter system, where you just need that bulb?
Well, see, you're presupposing that we knew the difference. It's just,
I think you know the difference.
We can see the difference.
So a soft lighting, hard lighting.
Yeah. Well,
maybe not. This is exciting.
Yeah. No, I mean, for me, it's like, I mean, you know, I'm looking for form, you know.
Yeah, I can see that. You're gonna.
I wasn't, but again, see, it's like, you know, Brent knows. It's like, man, I wasn't taught how to shoot. I just shot, you know, and I just, it became it's just what I got. So I just worked, you know, that's what we were working with. The school didn't teach us any of this stuff. So we had to kind of figure it out on our own. This is not looking so great, but hey.
For anybody, if I think a lot of people probably know the difference, but yeah, I was essentially asking, you know, why do I notice that illustrators tend to use just a hard light versus filtering that light through perhaps softbox or bouncing it with an umbrella, where you get those softer lights?
Timmy, my opinion on it is that it fills the shapes better, the shadows fill better.
Yeah.
And we're looking for really simplified shape. And you can also,
the lights were sculptural.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't know anything about that.
Right. So that's why I'm telling you, so that the
yeah.
The real answer is that we don't know any better.
Yeah, I like.
Bill's just trying to help me out. Bill's is just trying to be nice.
And then, but it is more sculptural. And most of us are just using, I mean, at least when I started, I was just using like my table lamp to light stuff with. You know, it wasn't until I had a friend who was a photographer that I'm like, oh, you have a softbox, so you have a strobe, you know?
Yeah.
It's like.
Rembrandt didn't have soft boxes.
You hear that?
Rembrandt. No, but he had walls to bounce it off of.
Okay,
I mean,
so we need that on
but
a
I would put up like, you know, I
Rembrandt didn't have visual arts passage t-shirt.
But I would put up like, you know, a bounce. I would put a piece of board up behind a figure and bounce the light into the shadows. Just to
That's a good t-shirt though.
Just to get some of the form in the shadows, so it's not just solid black, you know.
Do you ever play with color in your lighting?
No,
a waste of time.
I can't work with color photographs. It drives me insane. I always work from grayscale, and it's something that Jeff Jones kind of got me doing too, which is like I'll go in and really mess with my photos in the dark room and try and lose information so that I'll have to invent stuff, you know, because the photos give you too much. They give you too much info. And one of the biggest things that helped me was subway drawing, because you know, the person that you're drawing is not going to sit there for very long. So you had to just kind of whip stuff out and deal with the big stuff. And it really helped me to zero in on what was important about the pose rather than the details. And so when I go to a photo, I try to treat it as if it's a live model. They're going to walk away. Let me get a.
I would say too that like having the like drawing so much from life, from subways, cafes, etc., that having the luxury to light something and control that element is a huge thing that you don't always have. You know, you don't have the control when you're drawing from life.
Yeah.
George, do you ever? Because I would imagine, George, I don't know what era did you live in New York? I'm wondering if you did you ever get to cross paths with Bill Cunningham?
Bill Cunningham.
He's a street photographer. You mentioned like subway drawing, but he's a fashion photographer. He was really known for street photography.
That's
I
cool.
know right out the gate, I think of Bill Cunningham. I think of like Vivian Meyer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no one knew of her yet.
Nope. No one knew of her until what, like 2015, probably.
Yeah.
Or
Can you know Saul Leiter's work?
Could you say it one more time, Bill? Sorry.
Saul Leiter, Leiter.
No.
He did a lot of. Oh, you'd love it. He was friends with Robert Weaver, and he did a lot of like street photography, but also fashion photography. And he loved to shoot kind of through things, like through windows.
His stuff is really cool. I'm looking at it right now.
And
I'm gonna share it with everybody.
He was also a painter, but there's a great book of his work that I got a few years ago that's and he lived in isolation for a long time. Like nobody knew who he was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there's but he did fashion stuff, and then he also did street stuff. Yeah, you can see like he used a lot of.
It looks like a wormhole that I could fall down. It's pretty cool. It's very cool. I just shared a broken link with everybody, but I'll just share his name. Everybody knows how to use Google here.
Let's Google.
Jujul? You mean Jujul?
Or Bing.
Yeah. Here's a question to all panelists from Jeff Stone. With an illustration job, how much would you compromise your style for a job if the commission kept asking for changes? Is it worth more for work or keeping as true to you? How much do you work for them, and how much do you say, how much say do you have in a finished work? Sorry, I didn't do that I read that without the right tempo. My apologies, everybody on the panel.
I mean, it's a job, so it's not fun to make changes, but if you, you know, there's certain changes that you charge for, and there's certain changes you can build in the beginning if you know there's going to be a lot of changes. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a job. So, you know, for me, I never mind, you know, I didn't love always making changes, but I didn't like making changes that weren't spec'd for. You know, like if somebody decided at the last minute they saw something, then they wanted to change, then that becomes a whole new fee. But I always figured that I was getting paid to provide an image, and then if I had to make changes, a lot of those became billable, you know, billable changes. I don't know.
Part of it too is, you know, if they signed off, because I would make people sign off on all the various stages, like actually sign something, so that if they came back with changes, I would be like, well, but you approved this.
Exactly.
And I delivered the thing that I said I was going to deliver.
Yeah.
So I don't mind, you know, changes, because it's basically what you're asking me for is really, a couple times they were asking for a brand new illustration, and I was like, fine, but you're gonna, you know, you got to pay me for this one, and then now you get to buy a whole other illustration.
I know somebody who's doing a storyboard. I won't say their name or what it was for, but it was for a car, and they kept getting feedback like, we want it to be more photorealistic. And at first it started out very stylistic, and it was like 15 revisions later, they were like, could you make it a little bit more photorealistic? And he was like, so finally I just sent him like, I put like the cartoon filter on in Photoshop and sent them their photo of their car. And they're like, perfect. It was, I don't know how true the story was, but I thought it was pretty great.
That sounds really familiar.
Oh, no, we're not going to say any names. We'll get in trouble.
But
I remember doing an ad job when I was living in New York, and it was they had me painting Drake cakes, and they wanted me to like, and I turned it in, and they're like, oh, this is great. You know, can you do it now where everything is reversed? And I was like, well, you could just photograph that and, you know, flop it. And they're like, what? And I'm like, oh no, yeah, I can definitely do this. I went to Jelly Bean. I had them photograph it and flop it, and then I just repainted the logos and I turned it in, and they were like, oh, great.
Talking yourself out of a good job.
Like money was burning a hole in their pocket, you know?
Someone just asked, what part of New York? I'm assuming they're referring to whereabouts were you?
Well, I was living in Brooklyn, in Park Slope. But
this is way before Brooklyn was a hipster.
Oh yeah, it was way
hipster spot.
Gentrified.
Some people would say that it became a hip neighborhood after you left, right, George?
Wow. Hey, when I left, it was like they had already gotten Starbucks, so. But that was part of the queue. It's like, uh-oh, time to go. And they were, you know, the rents were doubling and tripling, and you know, yeah, it got nutty.
What years were you there, George?
I was there for 18 years. In school, from like 81 to 98.
Oh wow!
Like that.
So really pivotal time.
Yeah, I remember when Park Slope, the gentrification was way down past Union Street, you know, and then it slowly crept toward where we were.
Yeah. Wow.
So George, what's your approach right now? What are you focusing on?
Drawing.
Yeah. trying to ignore Timmy, trying to get something done.
I can't.
Hey George, your webcam looks bad. Maybe you should unplug it and replug it back in.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe we should. You know what? We should do a full factory reset.
I keep doing a hard.
I'm gonna feel bad about that. I'm gonna feel bad about that for a really long time, Audrey.
Don't worry.
No, George, I was just curious, like, if now that you're a bit further along, what do you think about at this stage?
I'm just like, I keep like doing a hard squint at the ref, and I'm like just playing with like what's getting in the way of the read, and can I, like, you know, push the values to have a little more mystery, sort of like obliterating some things and bringing other things back. I mean, I didn't, you know, like I'm using that white Posca pen rather than like white ink, which the white ink would look probably better. But the Posca is kind of fun too, because it makes it a little more graphic in a way. But just playing with light. I pulled out, it's funny, I have this dried up bottle of this old ink I used to love. This is burgundy ink that they don't make anymore. And it's all dried up in the bottle, but man, when water hits it, it just explodes. It's a beautiful ink. I actually still have a case of it lying around. That I bought with the help of Mike Kaluta years ago. It was the ink came out of London from a little stationery shop that they made it, and the shop closed, and we tracked down a place that had we found the warehouse, and I bought like several cases of the ink, and Kaluta helped me with his by using his Barclays account to pay for it. It's like, so yeah, if you find stuff you like, buy a lot of it because it's going away. It's like another of the,
toilet paper.
Well, the things of the universe, that when it really matters to you, it's
you heard it here first. Hoard it as soon as you. That's really interesting, George. One of the things I was going to ask, were you when you were like kind of just getting started in New York, did you have a mentor? I mean, I'm assuming I know the answer to this question, but did you have a mentor? Who was that? Was it more than one person?
Well, the biggest mentor was Jeff Jones, Baron Story, in like taking his class. That was an eye opener. And then I was, again, I was calling a lot of artists who were heroes. And so Bert Silverman, Kaluta was the first artist I called when I got to New York. And then, meeting Barry Windsor Smith, Bernie Wrightson, that whole gang, the studio guys. That was huge because they were really the touchstones for a lot of my generation, because that book just changed our lives, the studio book. And,
go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah.
What were you going to say?
I was going to ask, did you realize it was a mentorship kind of while it was happening? Did you appreciate it while it was happening? Or?
Oh, absolutely. And I apprenticed with Marshall Rogers, and that was a great thing because it cured me of wanting to be just a comic book artist. Because that's what he did, and he loved it, and it was all about entertainment. And then watching him work, it really was. It was entertainment. His whole thing was that it was ephemeral. It was meant to be read and then discarded. And I was like, no, it's an art form, and we would like really kind of get after it a little bit, but never. He was cool about it, but it was like his approach was that it was just that. It was, throwaway in a way. But then I was coming from Jones and the studio guys, Bernie Wrightson and all them, and they were approaching it as a true art form, and that's what was ringing our bells, me and my buddies. And so that's where I was coming from. So, so anyway.
George, the alarm just went off.
Okay.
Cool. I'm going to zoom out and we'll do a tour of all the studios.
Cool.
All right, here we are in Bill Koeb studio.
What was that?
All right, and then we're going to head over to Scott Anderson.
Nice.
To work from
Sorry,
George.
Scott. Sorry, Scott. You'd been muted.
Oh, that's fine.
I unmuted it. We heard the last 3 words you said. That's it. I'm sorry.
I just said, George, this is really fun reference to work from. Just great shadow shapes. So
cool.
Very cool. Wow.
Oh, the mic's on.
Don Kilpatrick, you're in the spotlight.
Hey. Yeah, I'm trying to go. I love this reference. This really reminds me a lot of Kathy Kolwitz's lithographs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Very cool.
Trying to go for that effect, you know.
Don, will you be live on Instagram again tonight?
You know, the night is young.
Yeah. I thought that was so cool the other night when you were working. I hung out for a bit. It was fun.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Highly recommend following Don on Instagram. What's your handle?
It's just Don Kilpatrick.
Don Kilpatrick. Add Don Kilpatrick. I'll type it in the thing.
Thank you.
And we're in Audrey's studio. Awesome.
Hello. Am I muted? No, I don't think so. Yeah, this is really different than the kind of reference that I work from. So
Oh, beautiful.
this was exciting and different for me. And I always love the story times that accompany George's photos as well.
Yeah, very cool. And John English. John, how difficult is it for you to move it closer? Or is it, I didn't mean to make it difficult. There we go. Really cool.
That's great.
Cool. I just zoomed out and that was our last drawing for the evening, but it's not over yet.
Give me a second here, Timmy.
Yeah.
And,
don't go anywhere. It's not over.
Yeah.
While John's doing this, I am going to remind everyone, especially if you're if you just joined for the last drawing, please share your work. You can post it to our Facebook group, which is Illustration Isolation. If you haven't joined the group, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun in between. Classes, and it's just a great way to stay connected. And then also, if you're not on Facebook, you can post it to Instagram, and just be sure to include these tags, which is hashtag Illustration Isolation, and be sure to tag our Instagram page, Visual Arts Passage. And John here is we're going to take a little tour of what everybody's been up to this evening. It's this is by a mile my favorite part of the night, other than watching everybody else draw, but it's really cool to see what everybody's been up to. So
hey, there's Jorge right out of the chute. Wow. Can you guys see what I'm seeing now? Can you?
It looks great, John.
Yeah. Okay, good.
See your video and we see your desktop. It's perfect.
Let me turn my video off.
Nice, Trevin.
There we go.
Eric Lee says, looking good, y'all.
Look at that. Dale.
Yeah.
Wrong. How'd you get that done so fast? Very nice. I thought that about mine when I was drawing. Why is this hand so big? Abraham? Hello, Abraham Morales.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, really nice. Nice, Austin. Nice composition to that. These are great.
John, while you're scrolling through all this,
This Chris's last piece.
I was just gonna say, just a reminder, we're currently enrolling. So if you had fun drawing with us tonight, you should seriously consider our classes. I just posted a link to Foundations in Color Theory. Color Theory is instructed by Brent Watkinson, who, if you've been here for most of tonight, you've seen some serious talent from his studio, and Foundations of Illustrations taught by John English. And we're enrolling now. Classes start this weekend and Tuesday. And if you like this, I think you'll be blown away by our program.
Chris nailed that, and we couldn't see it very well.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that unbelievable?
I love that better than the picture.
It's great.
Great.
So cool.
Nice, yes. Did the same reference as Chris. It's nice. Samantha, hello. Bell, Gil Ashby. Thanks for being here, Gil. Another instructor at and very good illustrator at College for Creative Studies.
We're representing Michigan.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, you had our president today, so. There you
okay. No comment.
Thank you. Julia, nice piece. Doug Bell again. Ooh, look at that.
That's a slayer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
It's a great photo. I've always loved that one.
That's a complicated photo to tackle. And
oh yeah, and you guys, you know.
Why I stuck to the face.
Yeah, I know, same.
Bill did this piece in concrete. It's really nice. It looks like it's so bad. You weren't kidding around there, Bill. That's beautiful. I like it.
This
Nice.
gesso called gesso sludge. It dries as a gray.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you prefer Home Depot or Lowe's.
I never would have believed it was called gesso sludge.
The two best art supply stores ever. Home Depot.
Home Depot and Lowe's.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You can get a lot of good art supplies there.
I still want a wall of like mason jars with oil paint in them. You know, like your dad had.
Yeah, well, that was all a product of Lowe's. That's nice. Who did that? Halsted. It's really nice.
That's gorgeous. I love the line in the front, like it just goes. There's nothing.
Marianne?
Man, the economy in that last one is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is, I have to call Marianne out here, but Marianne is Wesley Burt's mom.
That's
How to say a lot with very little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I have to say, I think this was such a great idea, you know, to sidestep working from the model, just because I feel like working from reference, sometimes you waste so much time looking through all the photos that you want to draw from, and just having that decision being made is really nice to do in a group. Just makes you start quicker.
How did everybody enjoy it tonight?
I loved it.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
It was nice to have something different.
Yeah, I totally agree with Audrey. I think my sentiments exactly.
Well, I think it's, you know, the having people choose and really look through some artwork, or look through some photography, and you know, I think they're being a little bit more calculated about what they're choosing, and bringing it with them. I think that's helpful too.
But we really miss Chris.
Oh yeah.
Chris, yeah, absolutely.
And to talk about what Audrey spoke about, that's exactly the problem with trying to learn the guitar or piano on YouTube, because you can't decide what you want to listen to and what you want to watch. So it takes 4 hours to figure out which video you want to learn from. And then by that time you've wasted 4 hours. So I like what Audrey said.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very nice.
This is great. This is so awesome to see so many people throw in and share their work. It's so nice.
There was a Q&A earlier, and I think one of those drawings answered it. Somebody had asked if they can combine poses. And yes, absolutely. Oh, that's beautiful.
That's really nice, Sasha.
Dale, who? What?
Who's that?
What else you got, Dale?
Dale, everybody, yeah, Dale Stepahanos. That's how he pronounces it. Stepahanos. Really, really nice, Dale.
Yeah, that's killer. Dang, that's a real thing.
You know, it's wild you think about that, because I think Dale's work is, you know, he comes in really tight on a lot of things, gets real tight on stuff, and he covers a lot of ground fast.
Yeah.
He probably had to draw that one from across the room.
Right. Yeah.
These are so much fun.
I'm glad somebody did that. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
That's got a ton of attitude.
Who was that? I missed the name.
That's gotta be
cool.
who drew it?
Chris has no shame with his photography. He did. Brent was at VCU. He was doing the Mad magazine cover of Fat Bastard.
Yes, from Austin Powers. Yeah, and he used himself.
Shirt off.
And he just threw that old fish belly out there, you know, with the in the reference, and we're like, okay.
Oh man.
Pinned it next to his board and just started working. Never thought twice about it.
Whoa.
Yeah, that is lovely.
Wow.
Wow.
Dang.
Yeah.
No,
This is a freak.
That shape, he just nailed the shape of that head. He changed it a lot too. I mean, wow. Very interesting.
But that's like a finished piece, you know?
Yeah.
That was killer by Bill there. Man, I love those shapes. Very economic.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Very nice, Bill. That's nice.
That's a great one.
I always told John's dad that he was the laziest illustrator in the world because he never made a mark that he didn't need, and he never put anything in his paintings he didn't need.
John Dale just said, drawing in the same room with Chris is like swimming with a great white shark. That's great.
Good analogy. I like that.
It's needing a bigger boat.
Yeah, but you're going to learn to swim better, though.
Yeah.
He'll make you a better swimmer.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Ah, cool.
There's Gil again. Oh, no, it's Dean.
Dean always says who he's drawing with. I love that.
Good stuff in here. That's well done. Oh, nice.
Nice one, Gary.
That's really nice.
That's beautiful.
The 8-year-old steps up.
Nice.
Man.
Yeah, look at those eyes.
She's saying, Chris who?
Chris is in the room with me.
No, these are fun.
Yeah. That's a nice one.
Very cool.
All right, it's Rebecca. Some very nice stuff in here.
Timmy, you tell Christopher he's got some competition now. He better come back.
Oh no, man.
Stand his ground.
He's taking the Daniel Day-Lewis route. He's like, I'm retiring. No, it's funny. My brother, I should make, you know what? Nope. I almost just spoiled the surprise. I'm not gonna say what I was. There's some people in the room. I got to keep a.
Okay.
Oh wait, no.
I'll say that
my mom left. So my brother Mike is coming into town next week to surprise her, and he asked if he could stay with us, and I was like, "You can, but You're going to have to pay your rent. And we got figure drawing on Thursday nights.
There's some conditions.
Yeah, there is a condition. Yeah. No, I was worried. He's trying to surprise my mom. I didn't want to spoil it for her.
Did you tell him you had all these particular parties that he had to bring proper dress for? You know.
Yeah, I told him. You know, he's got the slender figure, and so I was, you know, he'll be a natural for this, I think.
Chris is actually he's actually taking acting lessons for a couple of weeks before he comes back.
Oh man, you know, he sent me a photo, and he texted me a photo today, and he said, "Let all of my fans know that I'm just in the midst of finding myself, but I plan to come back soon."
You learning method modeling?
Man and buff.
Yeah.
Cassandra, this is a nice drawing. Really really
nice.
Chris is off getting his master's
Oh,
degree.
that's
for
great.
lab security.
That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
exactly,
great.
Audrey.
And I love the slang quality that person's getting.
Which one?
This person here, I think you know they did a couple of just beautiful economic.
There's some great ones done.
That's a fun one by Doug.
Lots of good ones. Oh man, I'm so glad we're doing it this way that I didn't have to collect all these drawings. There's Bill's.
Yeah, John, he said, "Let everybody know my head is in the clouds. Good luck to both of you. I'm sure it will be a disaster without me."
Well, tell him it was. Just go along with it.
Tell him we failed miserably. It was just an awful night. What was that?
Nice.
That's nice, Steve. Very good.
Shoeless Payne.
Shoeless Chris Payne. The Jolly Green Giant.
I like the sneer on that one. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
A lot of good ones. And I'm going to reiterate a lot. There's a lot of drawings. Oh, man.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take away from what the artwork you're looking at, John, but I just want to remind everybody, we really owe a huge thanks to everybody, all the panelists that joined us tonight. If this is your first time joining us, everyone on the panel, they've just come here out of goodwill and to just help, keep this community strong. And it's really special. And I mean, personally for me, thank you so much for being part of this. It's really tremendous what all the artists that are drawing with us tonight. Thank you. Thank you for joining. That goes for the people in the crowd too.
I'll second that. Thank you, Timmy. I know you put a lot of effort into this. And we try every week to screw it up for you.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
But, wow.
Well, there's a ton of work that you guys do behind the scenes that we'll never know about, but it
hey,
makes
Brent,
it look
sometimes
easy.
it happens. Sometimes when it goes real bad, it happens in the front of the scenes.
Yeah, but we don't know any different. We're engaged and we're drawing. So whatever happens, It happens.
Usually, that usually is preceded by, "Hey Timmy, we've got a problem."
Okay, so now I'm being asked to log in. So
Yeah.
I think
Hey Brent. Hey Brent, why'd you have to?
Yeah, thanks, Brent.
Here, John. John? I can do this. John, this is the easiest solution.
Okay, you can do that, or we could just be done. Also, it's a few minutes before 9. So
let's see. Let's see what everybody. Yeah, let's see. I think I can do it. I think there are people that probably want to see their work. So
sure, I think you should.
Let's do it. Let me just I'm
break
opening
the curse
it up right now.
Break the curse.
In the meantime, while you wait, this is the photo that Chris sent me. Let's see. Where are
Is Chris on the left?
Yes.
I don't
get the one on the right. Tell Chris he's fired.
That is an amazing. Wow.
Some pretty crazy clouds there, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
They must be up high looking down.
Figuratively, Brent, you're correct. With Christopher. Here.
Okay.
All right. Now I'm going to read. I'm just kidding. He's been awesome. Okay, cool. So we're going to give this a try. I'm just cleaning up my desktop, people. Thank you for waiting. Okay. Here we go. This is my first time doing this, so I won't be as good. No. Here we go. Hey, panelists, just say something if you want me to stop.
That's beautiful.
I'm going to say hi to Buck Arnold. Good job.
Yeah, great.
Buck, thanks for joining. Wow. 6 carats.
Wow, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Love that chunkiness that Doug always gets. Look at that.
Yeah.
I quit art.
If you're in the crowd and this is your first night joining and you drew along with us, let us know. Just let us know your first time tuning in. Bud Cook. Awesome. Oh, I'm gonna go through these. Very cool. Wow. Bud Cook, worth the follow at Bud Cook Studio.
Bud Cook has the strength of 10 illustrators, by the way.
Yeah.
True.
I love this one by Trevin.
That's not saying much, Brent.
The strength of 10 illustrators.
Thank you for picking that up, John. But we love Bud.
One man. This is great. Fun. We get to even see some of our Kansas City figure drawing people here. Our the local, the interurban art house ones. Awesome.
That's very cool.
Masking tape.
That's pretty wild.
Wow, looks like a clean drawing. Or
Yeah, it does.
I'm gonna like that. Cool. I would like all of them. It would just take too much time. I don't know why I did. I set a precedent now. Sorry, everyone. That's the only one I'm gonna like, and it doesn't mean anything.
Nice cropping on that one.
I'm gonna go back. Wow, cool.
that's beautiful.
Andy paints. I'm seeing all these people that we're not following, and I'm like, we're gonna follow these people.
I love that.
Addie, Visual Arts Passage.
Covered a lot of ground in a hurry.
Yeah.
Represent. Addie attended Visual Arts Passage. She's like a founding student. Very cool. This is so great. So many people submitted stuff.
You got a really great variety of reference too. That's so nice.
What's this guy not? Why is this guy not here?
Yeah, where is he?
What is this?
He is. He's coming. Yeah, he's coming next week. He told me. I talked to him this week a couple of times.
Yeah.
So he'll be here.
He'll put a good.
I'm gonna. If I had more time, I was gonna write something passive aggressive to him.
So he has time to post but not draw.
Yeah, exactly. What is this? Very cool. Awesome.
Let's not.
I'm noticing there's a lot of new people. What's that?
Let's not upset Vincent. That could backfire.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like the
really draw.
Yeah. He'll sick all of his Instagram followers on us.
He was one of the very first podcasts I did. I had to start with him almost.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Very cool. Sorry, everybody. I'm kind of picking up the pace. I'm going a little slow, and I know some people have bedtimes.
I'm getting tired. I'm old.
This is great.
Oh, brilliant.
Looks like a sergeant.
Wow. Cool. This is so great. So many new people joining us this week, which is awesome. Thank you for drawing. This is so cool. Mr. Koeb. Awesome.
I like that one.
I'm Kilpatrick. The pose is over. You got to stop. Audrey, you got to stop. I'm teasing.
Nobody can, John, the audience can't see them drawing. If everybody wants to know, the panelists are still drawing.
Yeah, it's just,
Stop.
yeah, especially,
We're back at the control center. We could see them.
when they're,
Therapy.
Oh, this is great. Wolverine's brother.
oh yeah.
Cool.
Nice one.
Awesome. See ya. Now the kids need bedtime. Wow.
At least we're on the first pose now.
Yeah. Wow.
Good
Brent,
job.
awesome, Brent.
I like big bats. I cannot lie.
Yeah, I played softball for a really long time, so this was fun for me too.
Cool.
That's nice.
I miss that.
Was that in high school or in college?
Not college. Ringling only had a Quidditch team, but
Okay, I was gonna say, I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
College, the Ringling Quidditch team.
That's all they had.
Yeah.
But no.
Undefeated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they were pretty competitive, but no, before that, before college.
Wow.
Then slowly art took over.
Yeah, CCS's sports teams have been undefeated since 1906.
Yeah.
Oh,
Very
that's
cool. And it looks like we are into the unknown territory of the hashtag, so we're going to stop.
I'm going to say hi to one more person. I'm going to say Jeremiah Merrick. He said hi to us.
Oh, cool. Jeremiah, thanks for coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, unbelievable.
Great.
Fun. Really fun. Everybody,
So awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
If you're still thinking about it, or if you're considering it at all, Brent's color class starts on Tuesday, and it's an awesome class. Yeah,
I'm gonna enter that in the chat, and this was awesome.
Anybody that's a visual arts passage student right now, a reminder that Ian McCaig is our Sunday lecturer.
And a humble brag to everyone who is not a visual arts passage student.
Yeah.
McCaig.
Something to be jealous about.
Yep. I'm really excited about it. So everybody, thank you all tonight. It was excellent. I had fun. I hope everybody else had fun.
Oh yeah.
Blast.
Thank you guys.
Everybody on the panel,
George,
Audrey, Bill Koeb, Don Kilpatrick, Brent Watkinson, Bud Cook, who we haven't featured yet, but we're going to have to make it happen.
Dale,
George Pratt, Dale Stefan, John.
Thank you, Bill.
And George Pratt and Scott Anderson.
And Chris Guy.
Ashley
Chris,
and Chris, who already left.
And we lost Chris and Ashley. That's why I skipped over him.
Yep. And be ready for Ashley on Tuesday.
Yeah, Ashley is speaking on Tuesday. So remember to tune in. That's 12 p.m. Pacific Standard and 3 p.m. Eastern. Other than that, good night, guys. Thanks for joining, everybody. This was
Thank you, guys.
Had a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for showing this or throwing this shindig again. It's awesome.
Thanks, everyone.